Hello everyone, I got 4 dirty jokes for you today. One fine morning, a wife awoke to find a folded note resting on her bedside table. It was from her husband, carefully composed and considerate in tone. The note read, "My cherished wife, I am sure you understand that, as a man, I have certain needs and desires. These are needs that, unfortunately, you may find challenging to fulfill, given your age of 57 years. Our time together has brought me much joy, and I value you immensely as a wonderful wife. Therefore, I trust that upon reading this letter, you won't misinterpret my intentions for this evening. I plan to spend some time at the Comfort Inn Hotel with my secretary, a youthful woman of just 18 years. I hope this will not upset you unduly. Please be assured that I will be back home before the clock strikes midnight." When the husband returned home later that night, he found a response from his wife awaiting him. It was placed on the dining room table, where it would be sure to catch his attention. The letter read, "My esteemed husband, I found your letter this morning. I would like to seize this opportunity to gently remind you that you, too, are of the same age. As you are well aware, I am a mathematics instructor at our local community college. While you read this, I want to inform you that I will be spending my evening at the Hotel Fiesta with Michael, one of my promising students. Michael also happens to be the assistant coach of the tennis team. Michael, much like your secretary, is full of youthful vigor at the ripe age of 18. As a thriving businessman, you possess an excellent understanding of mathematics. Hence, I'm certain you will comprehend that we find ourselves in a parallel situation. However, there exists one small difference. The number 18 fits into 57 many more times than 57 can fit into 18. Therefore, do not expect me home until sometime tomorrow." One day, a fireman, having completed his grueling shift, returned home to his wife. Feeling inspired by the procedures of his workplace, he decided to bring a bit of the regimented order from the fire station into his household. He said to his wife, "You know, we have a truly remarkable system at the fire station, an efficient process that allows us to react quickly to emergencies. When bell 1 rings, we know it's time to don our protective jackets. When bell 2 rings, it's our cue to slide down the pole. And when bell 3 rings, we immediately embark upon the fire trucks, ready to brave the flames. From this point onward, I propose we operate our home in a similar fashion. When I call out bell 1, I would like you to gracefully shed all your clothes. When I announce bell 2, I want you to playfully leap into bed. And when I say bell 3, we will engage in a session of passionate lovemaking." The very next evening, the firemen returned home from work, excited to put their new plan into action. He announced, with a slightly mischievous twinkle in his eye, "Bell 1. In response, his wife coyly removed her attire. "Bell 2. Following the command, his wife leapt into their bed. "Bell 3. And thus, they commenced their passionate dance of love. However, after a mere 2 minutes, his wife cried out in a voice that was half mocking, half playful, "Bell 4. The fireman, taken aback, asked in confusion, "Wait a minute. What on earth is bell 4? His wife, with a cheeky smile, replied, "More hose. You're nowhere near the fire." Young Jack was eagerly preparing to marry the love of his life, Jill. His father, a wise and experienced man, decided to impart some advice that he believed had been the secret to his successful marriage. "My dear son," he began, "when I tied the knot with your dear mother, the first thing I did when we arrived at our new home was quite unusual, but bear with me. I helped your mother out of her wedding gown until she was completely bare, and then I proceeded to remove my trousers. Then, quite unceremoniously, I handed my trousers to your mother and encouraged her to try them on. As expected, she found them to be enormously large for her petite figure. She admitted, 'I can't wear these, they're much too large for me.' To which I responded firmly, 'Of course they are too large for you, my dear. I wear the pants in this family, and it shall always be so.'" He concluded his story with a twinkle in his eye. "Ever since that unusual exchange, we've managed to live our lives without a single significant disagreement." Taking his father's advice to heart, Jack decided to replicate the symbolic act with his new wife on their wedding night. Subsequently, Jill, being a clever and independent woman herself, decided to add her own twist to the tradition. She carefully slipped off her lacy bridal undergarments and handed them to Jack. "Why don't you give these a try?" she suggested with a knowing smile. Taking her suggestion in stride, Jack attempted to fit into her tiny panties. However, they were clearly far too small for him. "What's the point of this strange exercise, darling? I can't possibly fit into your panties," Jack exclaimed, rather puzzled. "Exactly," Jill replied, her smile growing wider. "And if you don't change your attitude, you never will." At a high-profile gala event attended by the city's elite, a stern old sergeant major found himself amidst a sea of glittering gowns and sharp tuxedos. The evening was brimming with attractive young models who glided through the event with an air of elegance and charm. Among them, one particularly captivating lady found her interest piqued by a decorated military man standing alone. Curious and slightly intrigued, she decided to approach the sergeant major for a conversation. "Excuse me, Sergeant Major," she began with a hint of flirtation in her voice. "You seem unusually serious for such a festive occasion. Is there something on your mind that's troubling you?" With a stoic expression, the Sergeant Major responded, "Negative, ma'am. It's not worry, it's just my nature to be serious." Inspecting the array of medals adorning his uniform, she ventured further. "By the looks of these awards, you've experienced quite a bit of action in your career." "Yes, ma'am, that's correct," the Sergeant Major replied curtly. "I've seen a fair share of action." The model found his stern demeanor and laconic responses somewhat baffling yet intriguing. Undeterred by his terseness, she persisted, "You know, life isn't all about being stern and serious. You should unwind a bit, enjoy the moment." The Sergeant Major simply stared back at her with his unwaveringly stern gaze. After a moment of silence, she blurted out, "I hope this isn't too forward, but I've been wondering, when was the last time you let loose and had some fun in the bedroom?" Looking her in the eye, the Sergeant Major answered, 1955. Taken aback by his admission, she exclaimed, "Oh my, that's a long time ago. Well then, let me make this evening memorable for you." With that, she took him by the hand and led him to a more private room. There, they spent an hour together in passionate intimacy. In the quiet aftermath, as she nestled comfortably against him, she sighed, "You certainly haven't forgotten anything since 1955. The Sergeant Major looked at her with a puzzled expression and responded, "Well, I certainly hope not. After all, it's only 21:30 now."